And we did this by, if you'll notice the original nucleus core, what I talk about being symmetrical is that if we look down this plane, it's symmetrical because we equal distance on these sides, between the x and the y. We try to keep that symmetrical this direction. But what we wanted to do to increase that change of direction is we have to increase the intermediate differential, or the mass bias. So how we do that is, if you notice, basically what we did was we cut off opposite ends of the weight block, which now makes that narrower down the y-axis. And when we make it narrower down the y-axis, what that does is it makes the y-axis narrower than the z-axis, which makes it the highest RG axis, which makes it stronger asymmetrically. Okay? Everybody understands asymmetry, correct? We've done lots and lots of seminars on asymmetrical and understanding the layouts and understanding what the values and benefits of moving the mass bias around. So the way we were creating a stronger motion or shape was to change that and make that stronger asymmetrically. Now when we did that, when we cut those opposite ends off and we tried to pin it just on the same spot, what happens is this core tilts up and the mass bias was flying 7.5 inches out. So we had to relocate the x-axis, and when we do that, that's why we create about a 16-degree tilt of the core. Okay? And that tilt to the core even increases that strength or shape a little bit more. So it gives us even stronger motion. So basically what we did was we gave you an amped up version. We gave you, it's a mutation. So this is the nucleus 2 core. And that's one of the reasons why we call it a mutant cell, because it is a mutation off the original core. It's something that's different. And it's something that you'll see when you get out here and throw some of the matchmaker balls, or some of the guys that have seen it on tour, and I'll let Jeff talk a little bit about that, is the comment was it's like a cell on steroids. But with still that predictable motion that has made that cell series so successful. And the reason for predictability is we always preach that when we drilled the original nucleus core, that when I put pin above, fingers in, thumb in, I'm not touching much or taking much dynamic integrity out of that core. The USPC did a study just on the cell ball alone. They drilled several different ways, trying to see how much the ball would change before and after drilling. Because this is a big thing that's being preached or taught throughout the industry, and it does make a difference. One of my good friends, Mr. Mo Pinnell, has gone around teaching you about placing of holes, weight holes, to change differentials, change mass bias, strengths. But that's still very dependent on player, very dependent on where you're putting holes. The principle behind the cell was to give you something that no matter how you drilled it, it maintained dynamic integrity, which meant it maintained its predictability throughout the lane and from player to player. You didn't get such a wide range from one player to the other based on a drilling, which is a good news, bad news situation. Sometimes sometimes you can create subtle changes or differences, but there's sometimes not a dramatic difference. But that whole point of maintaining dynamic integrity gives us that we know as ball drillers what it should do by the way we lay it out and drill it. And that was the point of that. We still maintain that with the nucleus 2 core, pin CG mass bias. We're still getting that. Once again, we're not adjusting dynamic integrity too much. So now it still maintains it, but it's a stronger asymmetrical ball. We increase the mass bias split. So now we create a sharper change of direction. We can tune the break point a little bit more by moving the mass bias. And you're going to see that today in the videos. And we do have some videos to show you that, where you can actually definitely see a more definitive move out of a mutant cell versus what you see in the original cell. And that was basically the design intent I went through on that slide there. To the next one, showing the differences between the two cores. The original nucleus core, RG value 252 and a 15-pounder, 56 differential, 18 intermediate split. So once again, higher differential, not quite as big a split, high flare, continuous motion, very predictable.